What's up, guys? Just kind of waiting for people to start pouring in here. Thoughts on Scotty Kilmer? He's based. No plastic crap. Big fan of old Scotty. Mr. Craig. What's up, Kios? You drinking a dirty Shirley? It's Snapple apple, baby. Best apple juice. Dirty Shirley. That's like, I never heard that one before. Where's my free N54 tune at? N54 owner's got to pay double. Sorry. Ramen. If you do an N52 swap, I'll tune it for free. How about that? Shirley Temple is just an East Coast thing. No, we had I'm not sure about here in Washington, but I grew up in Chicago and Shirley Temples were a thing. But if you order a Shirley Temple, it was like as a kid, and it would just be Sprite with like cherry juice or something and a cherry in it. But I've never heard of like actually putting booze in it for a dirty Shirley. I never heard that. Let's just wait for my N54 to blow first. Well, hopefully it doesn't. Replace those injectors. I don't know what half these buttons do on this live stream thing. Start a poll. Let's see what that does. Oh, neat. Matthew Clark, how involved is it to tune over another company's tune? It's not involved at all. Hopefully, whatever company tuned you previously on their software, there should be like a restore option so you can go back to factory flash. And then after that, you just flash as normal through 22 RPD. If they don't have that option on their software, or it's like a iFlash cable that expired, you'll probably just have to do like a Wink FP stock flash, or you might be able to use our program too, but I'm not 100% on that. But most tune companies lock the DME after they tune it to protect their intellectual property, so you can't really like modify those files. But yeah, totally can do that. It's not a big deal at all. Hi, Dad. What's up, Sebastian? Sebastian, are you Seba on Instagram? Sebi. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah. What's up, dude? How you doing? By the way, I'm banning anyone that votes N54 on this poll. Instant banned. Wish I still had my N52. B46 has been good to me though. What does the B46 come in? I don't think we have that in the US. Or is that even a BMW engine? The Sula version of the B48. Oh, okay. Yep. B48's great. What are you using for vid editing? What are you using for vid editing? Adobe Premiere Pro. I was using iMovie on my MacBook, but it's super slow for rendering. So now I have a PC built. I bought the Adobe Premiere / Photoshop / I think I got Lightroom 2 on a subscription, and they give you a discount. I think it's normally like $60, but if you're a student, it's like $20 or $30. But I messaged them. I'm like, I'm not a student, but will you give me a discount? And they said no, and I said, okay, never mind. And then they're like, okay, we'll give you a discount. So I think I'm paying like $30 a month for access to all the Adobe software. So it's a little trick there. Makja, wish I had an N52 B30, not the B25 in my car. Well, at least it's not an N54, brother. Still N52. What's the difference? I'm trying to buy an N52. The B25 is just a half a liter smaller than the B30, and it does have a couple more issues like the piston rings burning oil. It's a G30 530i. It's Sula because California. Is that the so do you have an 8 HP transmission there too? Dang, G30's new. Congrats on that. Craig said, WTF LOL, I canceled Adobe, tired of their stuff. What issues were you having with them? B25 is just worse in every way. Yeah, versus the B30, it kind of is, but what are you going to do? Sebi, yes, sir, I do 8 HP 50. Nice. Are you going to do XHP flash on that? Kind of jealous of the 8 HP. I drove I think it was an Audi SQ5, and it had a stock 8 HP, and even the stock without XHP flash shifts super quick. It's overpriced and very clunky program. Love, hate, mostly hate. What are you using to edit videos now then? Which cars have the N52 B30? In North America, the 325, the 328, the 330, and the F10 5 Series are all N52 B30. Canada, the 323i is B25, and for Europe, I'm not sure. What's up, Even? Be thankful I have the GM slush box in my 330i. Yeah, they're reliable though. At least they're less finicky than the ZF. You don't have to worry about. I don't think you have mechatronic seals and stuff in that you have to worry about as much. But yeah, no XHP flash, unfortunately. LB Media said, I got a 328 X Drive. B14 is getting installed. What else can I do to improve the handling, and what is the most reputable tune? Most reputable tune, easily 22 RPD. They've been developing their tune for years. I work for 22 RPD. I run their tune on my car. Tons of time on the dyno and R&D into the N52 platform. What else can you do to improve the handling? You said you're all-wheel drive, so your front control arms, you can get power flex bushings since you can't do the M3 arms, and that's your front thrust arms, I believe they're called, but they're the ones that go inwards on the front wheels. But you can replace that rubber bushing with power flex or a monoball, and that'll really help your steering and your braking stability. The rear suspension, you're probably set with those B14s. The only other thing you can do really back there that'd be worthwhile is like an LSD. That's probably the biggest difference you can make in your handling. E60, 528, and 530i is also N52 B30. Yep, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to do stage 2 XHP. I'm running stage 2 boot mod 3, so it's pushing the TCU to its limit. I would just go stage 3, dude. Just go all the way right off the bat. I think I bought stage 2 at first, and then I eventually just went to stage 3. I think it's cheaper if you just buy the stage 3 to begin with, or the full package, but I guarantee you'll go stage 3 at some point. Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, I think everyone does that. Would you be able to close off DC valves per tune after 6,000 RPM where it starts to drop, or would it have zero effect? Yeah, we can adjust the DC valves, and it does help a bit, but it still doesn't match the N54 intake top end. But yeah, that's something that is possible to do. But just the design of the manifold and the runner length, even with those DC valve closed, you can't really make as much power up top versus a like velocity stacks or N54 intake manifold. XHP does indeed have a stage 3. Yeah, I've been running stage 3 on my car for like 3 years now, since I got it actually. And then the previous car, I tried stage 2, and then I went to stage 3. It's like stage 2, but manual mode is actually manual. So you can hit the limiter and it won't auto shift. And then everything else is more aggressive too. It shifts faster. And the downshifts are crazy. What's up, Bobby? You're prepping your N54 intake manifold right now. Do I know who makes the dowels and washer for PCV? Yeah, the dowels, let me send you a link. There's a guy on eBay that sells those. Here's the dowels at that link, and then the washer for PCV. I'm not sure because I didn't run mine that way, but if you go to this link here, Alphonse, who's N52 legend, he has a write-up, and I think he put part numbers for that, doing it that way. But you would still have the torque that the 3-stage intake has and have a bit better top end, perfect balance for a daily driver. Yeah, 22 RPD can do that. I'm pretty sure that's already how it's done on the tune. But yeah, it's a 3-stage is nice for a daily. You can 3D print the dowels. Yeah, you absolutely can. There is a file for that actually. Eccentric valves N52. And here's the link if you have a 3D printer and you want to do it yourself. My manual mode bangs the limiter stock without shifting. Oh, okay. That must be a ZF8 thing then. On a ZF6, it'll auto shift if you do that, unless you have stage 3. I just recently got a N52. Where can I look to see if I got a ZF versus GM trans? If you look under the car at the transmission, if you have a plastic pan, which is black, then you have the ZF. But if you have a silver metal pan, you have the GM. And also, I think you can find that on this link here. I'm not sure if that populates on a VIN, but if it does populate on a VIN, you can look it up online. Joshua, hey man, love your comment. Thanks, man. Is your motor built to take the extra supercharger boost, or is it stock? The motor's unopened. I don't have anything done internally besides the MILVs, which is debated now whether that does anything. Makja, you guys in the U.S. should be thankful you get to keep the N52. We Europeans got the N53, which is a N54, which developed injector problems. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate about that. The nice thing is it's a higher compression motor, so you make more power than us. But yeah, you still have all the N54 problems without the boost. I'm not going to lie. You sent me an email and I have no understanding what you mean. I'm bad at reading text. Here's what you sent over. Sounds good. Got any development on S65 MS-S60 standalone tunes already running in car? Just need some fault elimination and tweaking for vacuum pump and such. Are you thinking of someone else? Because I don't remember I've ever emailed anything like that. Yeah, I don't even have an S65, so I definitely wouldn't have asked anyone about that. Raymond Herbertson? Yeah, no, I am Raymond, but not Herbertson. That's my last name. The N50K 330i variant makes identical power to the N53. Was only out for like 9 months in the UK before being replaced by the N53. Not sure about Europe. I think you guys get a better exhaust fold on that N52 overseas. It's like a equal length runner into the cat instead of a log manifold that we got in the US. I gotta go, but it was good talking to you, bro. See you on the gram. Thanks for stopping in, Sebi. Take care. It was all in the exhaust as far as I'm aware. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. Does secondary cat delete do anything, or it's not worth doing it? I can't get rid of main caps. Germany is a you know what for that. I haven't dynoed that myself, but back in the day when I looked up other people who had dynoed it, it was kind of agreed on that it made 8 to 10 wheel horsepower by deleting those secondary cats. So it is a gain, whether you consider that significant is up to you. But I did like how a secondary cat delete with a muffler delete sounded on my car, my old 330i, when I still had stock manifolds. Catless headers is more bang for your buck. Yeah, that's true. I've seen overseas N52 with 3-stage. It's crazy the power difference between North America. Oh, another thing to note is the European N52s also don't have secondary cats. So if that's worth 8 to 10 wheel horsepower, that could also account for the difference plus the better headers. Take care, Ramen. Thanks for stepping in. Who's voting for N54 on this poll? I guess I can't see who votes for what. 6% of people voted for N54. Shame on you. The Choking Dabber. How you doing, man? After he's, did you hit send on that before you type something else? Even my Bank One cat is dead, getting replaced when my charger goes in. Nice. Are you doing headers with that supercharger too? I know you got that hide kit. Do they tune for headers too? Whichever company does those tunes, or do you got to keep the stock manifolds with the with the ESS kit? King Genuine, have you experimented with different catless headers? No, I've only had the HC Racing headers from AliExpress, which are just basically the active AutoWorks headers. And I do have S54 headers being modified right now to fit my car, which should flow better, but that'll be the only different ones I experimented with, because I think the only other option is the Super Sprint, and they're like $2,000. I am not spending that much on headers. I would go full custom at that point. Is N54 intake worth it on an NA N51 with headers? If you have the GM trans, I'd probably recommend sticking with the 3-stage. If you have a manual, you could definitely go N54 intake if you get a tune, and raise the rev limiter to about 7,500. If you're not getting a tune, I would stick with the 3-stage. After headers, which exhaust muffler would you suggest? Keep hitting the send button early. I'm good, homie. Muffler wise, you're trying to drive your family around it though. So I think I told you to keep the stock exhaust if you do headers. That might be like loud enough for you, because if you keep the stock exhaust, it's super tame when you're cruising, but you'll still hear it and it'll have a nice sound once you floor it. If you wanted to get a more sporty sound, I would get like a decent straight through muffler that's like got some size to it, probably like a Vibrant Street Power, like the big box one. It's like a whole rectangle. Or you could do like a 4x9 MagnaFlow, and then don't touch any of the rest of the exhaust, because you'll get annoyed and you'll annoy your wife and kids. Razor, what's up, dude? Thanks, Super Sun, for the donation. Appreciate that. Let's see. N54, 55 with port injection setup is the way to go. No injector and high pressure fuel pumps problems. Yeah, I'm totally with you there. I've always told everyone when I sold N54, I was like, I'll buy another one when there's an MHD option for a DI delete and you don't have to go standalone, because there's no way I'm buying a N54 and spending $3,000 on Index 12s when that's pretty much a single turbo kit, at least the hot side parts. So yeah, I totally agree with you, man. Hyde haven't given any advice on it. Got a guy who's cutting the cats off and welding in sport cats as an initial. Want to keep it road legal. We'll do headers at some point. Biggest issue is right-hand drive. The UK guys I've spoken with, the N52 ones, they're all running gravity performance headers. So gravity performance makes the right-hand drive headers that fit, and I think they're like $500. Any plans on an N52 CSL intake? Greets from Germany. Yeah. I mean, we don't have plans to like do like mass production, but there's actually another guy in here, the Choking Dabber, who asked me to make one for him, and we can absolutely do that. We can make you one as well if you want. It would just be like $3,500, and that would be for the tune. You need a custom tune. That'd be for the R&D, CNCing, like an aluminum adapter plate. And the CSL box and making it fit in the engine bay and all that. So yeah, we could definitely do that. It's just at a price point where it wouldn't really make sense for us to like mass produce those, but we can definitely make that on a as needed basis. Makcha, I'm actually having a really annoying problem on my E92. The exhaust flange nuts have rusted completely off, and I'm trying to find a place to get it fixed. Previous shop welded it and did a bad job. The exhaust flange nuts. So are you talking about where your exhaust manifolds connect to the mid pipe? If so, you're saying they welded it. So did they weld the nuts to the backside of it? So the nuts are permanently welded onto the flange? Is that what you mean? Let me know on that. I'll circle back to that. Oh, you haven't seen it yet. They just sort of welded around the leaking area. That's kind of weird because if I'm understanding you correctly, your hardware just rusted out. I would have just replaced the hardware. Oh, but the stock manifolds, I think it's been a while since I had the stock manifolds, but I think the where the bolts thread into is on there permanently. So I would probably just chop off the stock nuts that are on the flange and then run a external nut to replace that and use new hardware instead of what's attached to the flange. That'd probably be the only fix. Choking Dabber, thanks, homie. Yeah, no problem, dude. Carlos, hey, bro, love your content. I have a B25 N52 and thinking to swap an N54 manifold intake. Any advice, pros and cons, things? With your 2.5 liter, I'd probably stick with the 3-stage intake that comes on the higher output 2.5 liters. Just since you don't really have a lot of torque to begin with on those cars, I probably wouldn't get rid of the diesels that's giving you a boost in torque. Yeah, I'd probably stick with the 3-stage after that. Yeah, Evans, check out those gravity performance headers. Carlos upgraded B30. Trust me. Yeah, the B30. We have a guy in South Africa that's running the 22 RPD velocity stacks, and he's like a race car driver, and he had the B25 on our stacks, and he recently also swapped to the B30. I got the AKI headers coated. I'm getting the vibrant collector and pre-silence muffler, MagnaFlow, or vibrant. The MagnaFlow is more raw, and it has more of like a growl to it, but the Vibrant is deeper and has more of a smooth tone. So hopefully that kind of helps you choose which one. They both sound good though. Would you happen to know which rotors to use for the F30 Brembos? Not off the top of my head, no. I have the 335 brakes on my car. I haven't looked too deeply into those since I haven't really ran into fading issues on the 335 brakes. B-Digger, I'm pretty sure Diane stopped selling the attachment for the RAM intake. What else can you use? I actually know a guy who is making these now. He's a 3D print guy. Let's see. He's in Canada. He actually made a part for me too. You'll see my car on his website. It looks like he doesn't have those up yet, but shoot this guy an email and ask him about his Dyne and Ram mod pipe thing. I'm pretty sure he's gonna have that out soon. Makja, I haven't seen it yet. They just sort of welded around the leaking area. Oh, I think I read that already. When upgrading MILVs, should I get a new crankshaft? No. Yeah, no. I wouldn't worry about your crankshaft at all. Canadian Bacon. If you do a magnesium cover, should you run a PCV valve if you plan on routing back into intake? I'm running one off of VW1. Yeah, that's always a good idea to have a PCV valve, just to make sure the air is running one way. Yeah, that's probably a nice way to do that. Would you suggest doing the transmission tune you mentioned in an earlier live on the X3 along with the other mods? If it's the GM trans, I think you already have the most aggressive tune on that. It's the 3.0 SI. If it's a ZF, yeah, absolutely do XHP on it. I told them that they could just cut the old studs off, hammer them out, and use new gaskets and bolts, but he said something like there's so little left of the flanges because of the rust that he didn't. Oh, that makes more sense. In that case, you'll probably have to cut off the flanges entirely and weld new flanges on. Do you think you would have picked up more power with your 6 HP 21 if you were still NA? Yeah, absolutely. Because when we were doing dyno tuning and testing on my velocity stacks and N54 intake and stuff like that, I was reading low, and my dynos kept going lower, and we were thinking maybe it was the differential. But as soon as I went boosted, it was like very obvious that the transmission, especially the torque converter, was going out. So I definitely, I'm kind of disappointed I didn't dyno the velocity stacks on my car and the N54 intake with the new transmission, because the numbers definitely would have been better than the ones I posted with my beat up torque converter losing power. Just from swapping the transmission alone, I think I picked up like 40 wheel horsepower with no tuning changes or hardware changes. So it was definitely losing a lot of power. I know you probably answered this, but you have any word for the beta 2 testers for velocity sticks? Yeah, we just sent. Are you on the beta 2 test? We just sent an email out a couple days ago to all the guys that are in it right now with an update. Guys, if your car feels sluggish or bogs down when giving full throttle at low RPMs, check your Vano solenoids. Yep. Yeah, definitely worth checking. Raymond always posting the fire links. Thanks, big homie. Yeah, no problem, dude. Do you prefer supercharger, turbocharger, or NA? Personally, not asking for recommendation. I like them all in different ways. I haven't had a turbocharged N52, but I have had a bunch of N54s. The supercharger is a lot of fun, just since it's such a different experience than NA or turbo. It's kind of like super VTEC at high RPMs. It doesn't spool up like a turbo, but as soon as you get to the high RPMs, you feel a lot more power because the boost keeps building up. And versus a turbo, which you floor it and low RPMs, you'll spin the tires. The supercharger makes the most power at redline. So it's definitely fun and interesting to have that driving experience, which is much different. If I had to choose one, that's really tough. I guess it really depends on what I'm building it for. For how I'm building the car right now, for like autocross time attack stuff, the supercharger, if I wanted the best sound, I'd go back to the velocity stacks. And then if I wanted to do like roll racing, drag racing, I'd do turbo. So that's a tough question because it depends on the application. Marjav, hello, congrats on your N52. I have a 330i and I'm having problems with the oil and water mixing. Is there any improvement to the original oil cooler? Unless you're in a very hot climate, you don't really need to upgrade the oil cooler. I think you have the oil to water cooler on that model. If the oil and water is mixing, you need to replace your oil filter housing gasket and your oil cooler gasket, and you need to use genuine BMW, not OEM aftermarket on those. And the reason I say that is because it seems like there might be some quality control issues on the aftermarket ones, which I have experienced and other people have experienced. And the genuine BMW ones are like an extra $20, $30 for both of them. And it's worth it not to have to replace them again so soon. And then do an oil change and flush your coolant system since your fluid's mixed. Yeah. King Genuine, check your spam email. We just sent you guys an email a couple of days ago, so definitely check your spam for that. And if you didn't get that, just send us an email at info@22rpd, and I'll resend that email to you. Canadian Bacon, what kind of MPG are you getting with the supercharger? That's a tough question to ask since sometimes I do a lot of highway driving, like if I'm going on a road trip, and other times, like where I live, I'm kind of towards the city. So it's a lot of stop and go traffic. So it can be as high as like 26 miles per gallon on the highway, or it could be like, I think I've seen like 15 around town. But yeah, it really just depends on how heavy my foot is and how much traffic there is, which there's a lot of traffic in Seattle. I'm having issues with my car in colder weather. Every time I slightly press on the gas, the RPMs will go below 1K RPMs, and sometimes when I'm driving, the car will jolt as if it's about to bog out. I replaced solenoid, spark plugs, ignition coils. I think it's the eccentric shaft sensor. Any thoughts? The first thing I would do anytime you have throttle response issues is do a smoke leak test, because vacuum leaks on these cars and cars in general can cause a lot of funky issues. So I would definitely rule that out first. And if it is the eccentric shaft sensor, you should have a code stored for that. So I would do a smoke test, and then I would do I would use a actual BMW code reader like Pro Tool, and then do a scan on your car and see what codes are stored. If you guys could hit that like button, I'd appreciate it. It'll help with the algorithm, all that YouTube wizardry stuff. What else we got? Thanks for the answer. No problem. About to bog out. I read that. Any tips on keeping the rubber gasket on the plastic cover when reinstalling? Got so tired of it, that's why I went magnesium. I've done a bunch of those and I actually never noticed it like popping out. What you could do, you could get some RTV, the right stuff, and get the fastest drying one. And what you can do is take the rubber gasket out of the valve cover and then just put a couple dots in the valve cover itself in like the corners. Press in that rubber gasket and let it dry, and that'll help hold it in place while you install it. And also remove your windshield wipers and your the plastic pieces underneath it, and that'll give you a ton more room so you're not bumping into stuff and pulling that gasket back off. You should be able to just place the valve cover pretty much directly on, just a little bit tilted towards the windshield. Would you suggest doing a transmission tune on the X3? If you have GM, I think you already have the most aggressive tune. If you have the ZF, yeah, I definitely would get XHP. Is it true that if you don't use the original Modine cooler, it won't work properly? I currently installed a Batmic cooler. Sorry. I've never tried the Batmic cooler, but I mean, generally it's better to go with OEM stuff as a general thing. So there could be some like fitment issues with Batmic or functional issues, but I don't know for sure. If it was me personally, I'd stick with the Modine just to avoid any potential issues. What upgrades are you running on the supercharger engine, bolt-ons, mills, etc.? I actually did a video on that, which I will link here. Let's see, where did you go? Oh, nice. We've got a bot in here. Okay, let's see. That was DC. Here's a link to that video. And just to go over it, I have the 22 RPD Stage 3 Supercharger kit and the water meth injection system that comes with that. And I added a second nozzle pre-supercharger in addition to the first nozzle pre-throttle body. And I have AliExpress headers, 3-inch exhaust, N54 intake manifold, and I also have mills. And then obviously the 22 RPD custom tune. It would catch on the little valve spring things in the back and fold it over. That was before I knew to remove the windshield cowl. Yeah, so removing the windshield cowl is the way to go, because then you don't have to scrape the top of the engine, which can pull it off. What octane rating do you use with the supercharger? Right now I'm using a E40 mix. We only get 92 octane here in Seattle at the pump. And so with how much ethanol I added to it, I'm at like 95 octane, 96 octane, something like that. Is a cowl delete worth it? I'm kind of interested in doing that on my E92, but I'm afraid of water intrusion. There's no benefits really, unless you're on the track getting the engine super hot and you need more circulation, or you want the you want to hear the engine more from the cabin. But yeah, it's always a risk that you'll have water intrusion. You can trim it along the strut braces, and that'll help keep water out. Done smoke test, but no leaks. Yeah, you might have to dig deeper into that and kind of do a little more diagnostic, because it could be some weird issue. Okay, let's ban this bot. Okay. Any issues with 20 turbo tunes passing emissions? We don't have emissions here in Washington. If you are concerned about passing emissions, it's always best to have your car stock. Would you consider running the S54 manifold with an X pipe halfway through the car and keep it with a dual exit to the end? Probably not, since dual exhaust just weighs more and it doesn't sound as good as a single exhaust, in my experience. Sometimes when I start the car, I see smoke coming from the exhaust manifold and then it goes away. Is this normal, or is it a sign of the valve cover gasket needs to be replaced? Yeah, that's 99% of the time that's going to be a leaking valve cover gasket that's dripping oil onto your exhaust manifold. Use genuine BMW for the gasket there. It's not much extra and it lasts longer for whatever reason. Let's see what this button does. Start a Q&A. I think if I do this, your guys' questions will pop up on the screen as I go through them. Let's try this out. Try to, if you guys see that Ask Me N52 questions bubble, try to ask me something there. I want to see if that'll get your question on the screen so everyone can see it. Why N52? Let's see. Select question. Do you guys see when I select this question? Does it pop up for you as well? It pops up at the top of the chat. Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. It gives me a different tab though, so I can't see the live chat at the same time. We'll just keep doing it how we're doing it. But that was nice to check out. Okay, thanks for doing that, guys. If you're actually asking me why N52, they're just good motors. They're super light, and the Valvetronic is kind of a neat engineering feat from BMW. And they take as much power as I want to make on my car. I don't need 1,000 horsepower or anything. Do you have any Pureberg water pump and thermostat for sale, or someone you know who can get them at a good price? I ask you a lot of questions because I'm from Argentina and spare part. I've got a good friend from Argentina. Looks like a super beautiful country from the pictures I've seen. Actually, kind of similar to Washington with the lakes and like hills and the greenery and stuff like that. But to get to your question, I don't have one for sale, and I don't know anyone that has one for sale either. Pureberg is a good brand for those, but I'm really not sure who would be best, like what company would be cheapest to get to Argentina, unfortunately. Reliability is a good one. Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest benefits of N52. No limp mode compared to like when I used to drive N54s. I would have my JB4 app on a magnet on my dash, and I'd get the limp mode on the highway, and I'd have to really quickly go to clear codes because the car would lose power, just for random stuff like if I blew off a coupler or there was a little boost leak or anything like that. It's like, okay, now you have no power and you're trying to go 70 miles an hour on the highway to keep up with traffic. So yeah, it's nice not having to deal with that. Any opinions on the upgraded Mishimoto thermostat and water pump? Not really. I would just go with the OEM. There's a whole league of people that race N52s called Spec E9X, and they run the stock ones, and they're probably the fastest guys in N52s. So if they don't need to upgrade that, we probably don't need to worry about it either. Before I bought my 325, I was looking at 335s, but came to the conclusion that I really don't need 400 to 500 horsepower, and the N54 reliability put me off. And I'm so glad I went for the N52. Yeah, I'm right there with you. A lot of people don't appreciate that you don't need 500 horsepower. Back when I was growing up and just starting to get into cars and stuff like that, like I had a Honda Civic that made like 100 horsepower, and the fast guys back then were like an Evo 8, and they're making like 300 horsepower, something like that, or less. So it's crazy how nowadays, like if you have under 600 wheel horsepower, like you're slow, and like, yeah, it's basically anything under 600 horsepower is like you're supposed to be embarrassed nowadays, but you don't need 600 horsepower unless you're, I don't know. I think it's because manufacturers nowadays release cars that already make 600 from the factory. So if you have like a car that you're working on and tuning up and stuff like that, it's like people think, why bother when you can just spend a lot of money and buy a new car that makes more power? But it's more fun to make a slow car fast, I think. Thanks. Can I contact you later via email? Yeah, send me a let's see, what were we talking about? Oh my God. Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of me is usually Instagram. My Instagram, I'll post it here. I did just roll out a private Discord too, and this will be the fastest way to get a hold of me because my inbox on Instagram and Facebook nowadays is getting pretty crazy with questions. So a lot of stuff gets buried. But if you want the fastest response, it's just the YouTube membership. You get to join the Discord, and you get first priority responses. So I check that first and get back to everyone there first. How about the S54 header with your current exhaust setup? Would it do better? Yeah, the S54 setup should be better than the HC Racing because it's equal length and it's a bigger primary and bigger pipe diameter after the merge as well. I have them ready to go. Oh, I think the fabricator finished with them, so I need to pick those up probably and get them installed, which is going to be fun because it's a super tight fit. You can have 600 horsepower plus, but it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it if it's on the lift more than the road. Smiles for miles is the way to go, homies. Most in the chat already know. Yeah, that's awesome. Smiles for miles, I like that. I haven't heard that before. But yeah, a lot of people, when I used to have an N54, my friends who also had N54s would be like, I'm going to gap you, bro. I'm going to gap everyone. And then you're like, all right, do you want to race? Well, like it's down right now, but once I do my injectors and my water pump and my fuel pump, then I'm going to gap you so bad. And it's just like, yeah, what's the point if it's broken half the time? It's not that that fun. Here in Argentina, having a BMW is like having a Ferrari, and an N54 is around $25,000. Super detonated, very overrated. Everyone modifies them. 25K is crazy for a N54. That's insane. Yeah, my buddy in Argentina has had the same thing about BMWs being super expensive there. And also, I found out that you can't replace your engine in Argentina. You have to have your original engine with the VIN stamped on it that matches the VIN of the car. Otherwise, you can't drive it on the road. So if you blow your engine, you're totally screwed because you can't just swap in a replacement engine. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Skull, I have an N52. How hard will it be for me to tune a burble tune myself, and what will I need? If you, and I don't mean this in a mean way. You know, this is the real answer is that if you have to ask, you probably shouldn't be tuning it, and I mean that in a good way. I don't mean that to insult you. But I would not recommend messing around with a tune if you aren't familiar with the tuning software, and N52s in particular. There's a very steep learning curve. Like, I don't tune my car myself, and I'm very familiar with the N52. 22 RPD does everything for me on the on my car, tuning wise. So, I mean, the other issue is also you don't have the definition files, which most tuners keep to themselves for the DME, the MSV70 and MSV80. So you would be starting from scratch with what does this parameter mean? What do I change to make the burbles? Like, it's not as simple as like on older cars, it's basically like you change the injector delay. You increase how long the injector runs before it shuts off when you lift off, and then you just pull timing. The N52 has, like, just one example, the idle maps. I think there's like 20 or 30 different maps just for idling. So it's insanely like steep learning curve, like super in depth to tune N52s. But yeah, I mean that totally respectfully, not like insulting your intelligence or anything, because I couldn't tune one either myself. What I would recommend is just going to 22rpd.com and buying a tune from them, and then you don't have to worry about messing something up. And you know, they're professionals who have been tuning for a decade plus, so you know that everything's going to be safe and good and stuff like that. So yeah, my answer to that, probably let a professional do it. Let's see what else. When I see the prices in your country, eBay Motors, for example, I feel like crying. BMWs are at a good price there. I hope our situation here changes now with MAGA. Yeah, I'm not sure how the politics would affect Argentina. I'm not too clued up on that, obviously, but if it has a positive effect for you guys buying BMWs, I'm happy for you guys if that drops the BMW prices. A modified exhaust will give you some pops on D-cell, most likely, if that's all you're after. Yeah, so for pops, basically, the less restrictions you have in the exhaust, the more pops you're going to get, because the N52 does have a little fuel overrun programmed from the factory. So if you free up the exhaust, it does have a little bit of. Actually, you can get a decent amount of burble if you make your exhaust more straight through with headers and secondary cat delete, stuff like that. You're running the N54 manifold right now? Yeah, I've been running the N54 manifold the whole time on the supercharger kit. I don't trust the 3-stage intake manifold with the supercharger. I don't trust it NA, so I really don't trust the DISAs not exploding with boost. Can you explain how that process works, like me buying a tune on 22RPD? Yeah, of course. Basically, you just order the tune here, which I will link for you. And after you purchase the tune, they send you a package with a flashing cable and the software. And all you need on your end is a 15 amp battery charger, and you need a Windows laptop. Everything else is sent from 22 RPD, and then you'll just do a read on your DME with their software. You send them that file, they modify it, they send you back a tune file, and you flash that file. But if you go to that product page, I actually just made a step-by-step video. If you scroll down a bit below where it says Ghost Cam and it says how to tune your N52, that's my video I made. And that walks you through every step you need to do yourself. So you could watch that, and it'll should clear up any questions you have regarding flashing it. Can 22 RPD do a burble tune activated by something other than AC, like a switch or something? Unfortunately not, because the car goes into a different map on certain tables when you flip the AC switch on, and that's the only button that does that. That we can have a separate map with more burbles built in to trigger when that button's pressed. So it's not really possible to like wire in a switch for more burbles besides the AC. That's the reason we use the AC button. Evans, my 330i burbles. Yeah, the 330i I think too has a little more fuel overrun from the factory than the 328 as well. I definitely noticed that between my 328 and my 330. If you guys could hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, I really appreciate it. It's very easy to buy through 22 RPD. For me being local to them, I got the car to them and had some revision after I got it back. But with Raymond's videos now, it's really, really simple to do. Yeah, thanks Mika for shouting out the videos. And yeah, we try to keep the process as simple as possible so anyone can do it themselves. Would recommend the 330i exhaust if you can get a hold of it. You'll be pleasantly surprised. It can be quite antisocial. Yeah, header. If you do headers on the 330 exhaust with the valve open, that's what I used to have, and it sounds awesome. A little more raspy with the headers, but the stock exhaust, secondary cat delete, sounds really good. Would you run the stacks if they were made out of metal as well as the plenum? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that would be I would make more power on those versus the N54 intake manifold. Yeah, for sure. The runner length and shape is optimized for the N52, whereas the N54 intake manifold is not necessarily optimized specifically for an N52. It just fits and it works good. So yeah, the link master. Yeah, I actually have like 10 tabs open here of stuff I thought people might be asking, so I could have the links ready. So all I need to do to get that burble tune is buy that and flash my car, then send it to them and ask for a burble tune. I'm a bit confused because I got quoted 800 to do that at a shop. Geez, yeah, 800 is too much unless they're doing like a dyno custom tune. Yeah, 450 bucks I think is what we charge for a remote flash. And yeah, if you check out that link I tagged you on above, all you do is essentially scan your ECU and then you upload that file. You don't have to actually send out your ECU, and then yeah, they'll send you back your burble tune. And it's also a performance tune. It's not just adding burbles. This is adding like 10 to 15 wheel horsepower and improving the throttle spot response and the drivability. So it's the burble tune's in addition to the performance tune. It's kind of just a bonus. Watching this as I drive home, be careful. Pay attention to the road. Maybe listen to it instead of watching it, and watch the road instead, Connor. Speaking of DSAs, I need to order a new one. I'm pretty sure mine's the original Taking Time Bomb. Yeah, definitely replace those. I've seen way too many motors get killed from the DSAs, the pin coming out and going into the intake valves. 330i definitely does run more rich than the 328 N52 map. Yeah, I think you're right. Can any improvements be made to the gearbox using NCS Expert? I have a ZF6HP. I have already done some coding and it was a success, but I never had a gearbox. Since I have not yet changed the gearbox oil, I have 133 miles. That's a good question. I don't really use NCS Expert anymore since I have Pro Tool, and that pretty much covers everything that I need to do. There is, I forget which program you modify the VO with, but if you add the, I'm pretty sure, Google this and fact check me, but I'm pretty sure it's the 2TB VO, which is the sport transmission, and that is alleged to make the transmission more responsive and aggressive on the ZF. Other than that, though, get the XHP flash, because nothing you can do with like OEM software even comes close to the XHP flash. So I definitely recommend going that route if you have the budget for that. If you have not changed the gearbox oil and you have 133,000 miles, I would still change it and do your mechatronic seals. Do your mechatronic seals. Do your, you could do a Sonex zip kit as well. And then if you really want to go crazy, you can do the solenoids and then do the transmission pan, which has the filter in it and new fluid, and your transmission will shift a lot better. Don't listen to people that are saying like, I'm kind of getting this from your comment that you don't want to change the oil since it has that much miles, but it's always best on these transmissions to change it, even if the mileage is high and it has been changed before. I changed mine for the first time on my last transmission at like 150,000 miles, and I had it until 240,000 miles. So yeah, definitely do all that. Skull said, I was going to ask that next. Can I have multiple tunes and switch throughout them, like Burble 1, Performance 1, Stock 1? Also, how would I use them? Do they assign it to buttons in my car? Sorry for all the questions. I'm very curious. No, you don't have to be sorry for the questions. That's why I'm doing the live stream, so everyone can questions answered. So to answer your question, you can do multiple maps. If you go onto that link I sent, there's a button for what is it called? Extra map, and you can have a burble map, a non-burble map, whatever you want to add. But we can't assign maps to switch on the fly, like with an N54 with JB4, where you push the steering wheel button. Since it's not a piggyback, it's a flash. If you want to change between maps, you will have to flash it with your laptop each time, which only takes like 5 minutes. But yeah, you can do multiple maps. Will Raymond 52 promo code still get us 35% off at 22 RVD? Nah, that was never a code. That's funny. Yeah, yeah. The last sale we had was Black Friday, which was a pretty good one. I have a 22. Dennis says he has a 22 RPD tune on 3-stage intake stock exhaust. I'm about to do 3-inch exhaust, and I have an N54 intake I'm thinking of putting on. Do I need a retune reflash? Yes, absolutely. Not for the exhaust, but for the N54 intake. There's a lot of, it's a very different airflow model, and it will feel slower than your tune 3-stage if you slap that on right now. So definitely get a revision on that. For a revision, you can reach out on your support ticket, and depending on when you bought the tune and if you've had other revisions and stuff done, you may just have to buy like a tuning revision credit to get that done. But yeah, just go to your ticket on 22 RPD and request the tune revision, and we can help you out with that. Evans can attest to the transmission shifting a lot better post-transmission service at 94K. Felt like a totes different car. Yeah, yeah, you got to do the service on the ZF because there's a lot of rubber seals in there, and the transmission shifts through fluid pressure. So if those seals are dry and leaking, which they definitely are at 133K, if they haven't been replaced, then you're losing that fluid pressure, which is being used to shift your gears and to hold your gears. So it's super important to do that. I did on my 6HP 21 swap I just did on my car. I wasn't sure if it would work or not, so I only did the mechatronic seals and fluid and pan, but I'm going to drop the pan again and do the solenoids and a Sonex zip kit now that I know this swap works, so I don't feel bad putting more money into it. Do you need to upgrade the brakes and suspension if you add on power? If you have good pads, the stock brakes are actually pretty adequate. If you look at the old E36 M3s and you compare how big their brakes were, and that was BMW's performance car, which people drive fast, those brakes were adequate, and our brakes are a good size in comparison, and the car doesn't weigh that much more if you're rear-wheel drive. The biggest difference you're going to have is in a good pad material. I like the StopTech Sport. They do make a ton of dust, but I haven't found a better street and canyon carving pad. So yeah, you shouldn't, especially for NA bolt-on power, you really shouldn't need to upgrade the brakes unless you're tracking it and they're getting too hot and you're experiencing brake fade. Most of your braking performance comes from your tire compound and grip, and then secondly your pad compound, creating the friction. So yeah, if your braking is adequate, do pads first and tires. I've heard somewhere that if the gearbox does not fail, it is better not to change the oil because the new oil will generate more pressure and could break the gears. I don't know how much truth. Yeah, that's kind of like a thing with old transmissions. The theory was that clutch material would break down into the fluid, and that clutch material would circulate through the transmission. And if you never changed it, that clutch-laden fluid was helping keep the trans shifting. And then if you dump out that fluid and put fresh fluid, you're losing all that clutch material. That's not really a thing on the new ZF transmissions since they have filters anyway, so the fluid's getting filtered regardless, and you're just sacrificing the hydraulic efficiency, I guess. I don't think that's the right way to describe it, but you're losing. It's only drawbacks to using old fluid. Like there's only benefits to replacing the fluid and having fresh fluid that's the correct viscosity and not broken down. So yeah. Thoughts on X-Delete? I've actually never tried it. I technically X-deleted my 325 Xi. I just pulled the front drive shaft, and I drove it like that for a long time before I fully rear-wheel drive swapped it. As for the X-Delete software, I have heard of some guys like having issues with their transfer case after flashing it, so I don't really want to recommend one way or the other because I'm not sure. I haven't used it myself, but I would recommend just doing your research on that and making sure if that's a good choice for you. Is X-Drive more unreliable than rear-wheel drive? Yeah, I mean, anytime you're adding more components to a system, there's more things that can break. 3-stage or N54 intake for drifting. I've seen people use both. It depends on the track and your red line, I guess. Because if you have a 7,500 RPM red line and you can stay near that area in your power band and make the power be in the RPMs of the N54 makes more power, that could make sense. But if it's like if you really need the torque below 4,000 RPMs, it's like maybe a more technical track. the 3-stage could probably make more sense, because obviously you need that power to kick out the rear, but I'm not a professional drifter. There is a E90 drift group that'd probably be able to answer that question better on Facebook. My last question is for the performance and burble tune. Are there any parts that are required to have, because I don't want to damage the engine getting these tunes if I can't handle it? No, there's no requirements for parts. Obviously, you should do your maintenance always, regardless if you're tuned. So, you know, spark plugs, coil packs, don't have a vacuum leak. As far as like upgrades, we can tune you completely stock, and a lot of people do run it that way. But if you wanted more power, you can do like headers, intake manifold swap, stuff like that, and we could tune you for that specifically. But if you want to keep your car the way it is now, you can just put your mods in the notes section on the tune page when you check out, and we'll get you tuned for exactly what you have, and you don't need anything extra. Have I ever thought about manual swapping my car? Yeah, a little bit. My last car was a 135i M Sport. That was a 6-speed manual, and that transmission shifted awesome. It shifts better than the N52 manual transmissions. And I moved to Seattle now, and I only have my one car. I used to have a couple cars, and so I don't really like the idea of having to drive manual in traffic every day, because it kind of ruins it for me. When I did have a manual car, I lived in Colorado, which has less traffic and more like open roads, so you could actually enjoy it. To me, driving manual in traffic, it just makes me think about how much I would like to be driving the manual and like the open road, like canyon carving and stuff like that. So it kind of just irritates me more than anything. But if I had a second car, manual swap would be more feasible, because then I could daily my auto car and then use the manual car just for fun. I really don't like driving a manual car if I can't have fun in it. Skull asks if you need forged internals for full bolt on and all that. You don't have to touch internals. I'm making 400 wheel horsepower on stock internals with the supercharger. You absolutely don't need to open your engine up for NA tune and NA bolt-ons. Yeah, you will be fine right now to get the tunes if you want to run it as you are now. Do I recommend doing the change with the machine through dialysis the old school way? Definitely don't do a transmission flush that forces pressure into the transmission. That definitely can cause issues with the seals and stuff like that. All you need to do if you change the fluid is take that whole pan. We'll drain the fluid first, take the whole pan off, and the pan has a filter in it. You replace the pan and you just pour in new fluid. Don't use any kind of machines. It's just straight up drain the fluid, fill the fluid, and be good to go. Don't mess with a flush. Can the SMG and the SCD5 be flashed and have the red line raised? I'm not sure. I haven't worked on that platform. Oh yeah, if you have heavy traffic, then manual sucks. I get you. Yeah. Some people are like, oh, just man up and drive manual in traffic. It's like, why would you want to? It just sucks. It's not like, if I'm driving a manual car, I want to be doing rev matching and heel toe and ripping on it and blasting through gears. I don't want to be going into first, stopping, going into first, stopping. You know, it's just it's super annoying. Maybe when I was younger, it was more of a cool factor, like look at me, I've got a manual car. But like nowadays, I don't care. The 6 HP on XHP flash is fast. It shifts fast, so it's fine. Maybe I'm old. Difference between ceramic and semi-metallic pads, and are ceramic pads worth getting for the benefits you get with them over the semi-metallic? The only reason I would go to ceramic brakes is if I cared about brake dust and brake noise. That's the only benefit that ceramic and not talking about carbon ceramic, just standard auto parts store ceramic. The only benefit is less noise when you're braking and less dust. Performance-wise, the semi-metallics will outperform standard ceramics, but they'll produce a bunch more dust. So just pick what makes more sense to you. What's more important. But if you're not driving like crazy, you're not pushing the brakes to their limit, it shouldn't really matter for you. Daily driver ceramic makes more sense. Connor asked, any good fuel saving tips and mods? Wow, that's so out of my wheelhouse since I just chase power and I'm always flooring the car all the time, so I never really pay attention. I have to think about that. The best fuel saving tip would be driving slowly, not increasing your RPMs more than you need to, leaving it in drive. XHP has a stage 1, which is for fuel saving. Oh, but you're a broke uni student, so you probably don't want to spend $300 on a transmission tune. Yeah, I mean, all you can really do is just be very light on that pedal. That's really all you can do. Obviously, aerodynamics are important too for gas mileage, so making sure you have your stock under trays and stuff like that. I was thinking of getting Brembo Prime semi-metallic pads. Are those good for spirited street driving? I haven't tried those. I use the StopTech Sport, which are mega dust, but feel the best. Zimmerman rotors good. I think so. I haven't ran those myself. I use the ECS 2-piece rotors. I didn't know if higher RPM would help the gas mileage. Yeah, lower RPM will be better gas mileage than higher RPM. The less RPM, the more miles per gallon. One good tip for fuel saving is make sure none of your brakes are sticking. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because you're fighting that friction to make the car move forwards. I purchased an aftermarket solid brass actuator gear for my X3. The OEM gear is plastic and fails. This is the reason why people say the X-Drive systems are not good. Yeah, I actually used to part out. I've parted out a lot of all-wheel drive E90s and stuff like that. And a very popular part that I sold is that transfer case actuator. So that's super common to go bad, and a lot of people are looking for those used at part outs that I noticed. Does it matter if you mix pads and rotors front to back? Not if you're not tracking the car or driving aggressively. Would you get the MAF delete on the tune package? What is EWS and SAP delete? What is MILVs? What is the swap tune option? No, you don't need any of that stuff for yours. If you scroll up a bit, there should be definitions for what each of those is. But none of those would apply to your setup, so don't worry about those. Are you still running OEM brake sizes with the 17s or running slightly smaller? I'm running the OEM 335 brakes, the brake calipers, and I'm using the standard rotor size, but with the ECS 2-piece. But they won't fit on N52 17-inch wheels. I have the Apex Arc 8s, so they have extra big barrels to fit big brakes. Some 335s do come with 17s too, with a bigger barrel, but the 328 ones are too small. What's the difference between vented, drilled, and plain rotors? The vented and drilled look cooler. Every rotor technically you can buy for your car is vented, and that just means the inside of the disc has veins for air to flow through. And for drilled, they're more prone to cracking, but technically they let out gas a little better, or I don't know, that they don't really do much besides look cool, because most of the fast guys at the track, they're all running plain rotors. So yeah, take that for what it's worth. Would getting the increased idle RPM be harmful for the engine? Like when I start, I always wait till 600 RPMs before I drive, so how will I know when it's warm and stuff? You don't need to get that option. That's just if you have a lightweight flywheel that's making noise, and we bump up the idle to help quiet that down. I'll pull up this tune right now and go through it with you. The only options you need is the naturally aspirated tune up top, add burble crackle flames because you want the burble, and your stock, so you don't need a lot of this. You could do the top speed limiter delete, and yeah, I would probably just do the top speed limiter delete, just since you're getting tuned anyways. But as for the other stuff, you might like the ghost cam too. If you click the ghost cam text at the top of the page, there's a video of my car with the ghost cam to see what that sounds like. Basically, it makes your car sound like it's cammed, but it does give it a rough idle. So if that bothers you, to make the supercharger mod on the N52, did you have to forge connecting rods and pistons, or is that not necessary? I know that N54 comes with forged pistons from the factory. Yeah, no, I have a fully stock engine. The rods are forged on the N52 already. The pistons are hyper-eutectic. But yeah, you don't need to worry about that stuff until kind of higher power levels. But the N52 cap is magnesium aluminum. Yeah, and I haven't actually seen any block failures at all on boosted N52s. It's usually the wrist pins and the pistons that let go, or the or you lose a ring because the ring gap is too tight for too much boost. The headers AliExpress link is out of stock. How do I find the links that aren't a scam from the same reseller? So AliExpress is kind of like just eBay, but for China. So there's a lot of factories that have a bunch of different sellers for them, or seller accounts. And so the link and the seller changes like every week for those headers. My recommendation is just to use PayPal. I haven't heard of anyone ever, out of hundreds of people that have bought them and talked to me, I haven't heard of anyone getting scammed. But always just use PayPal. So if you do get scammed, you'll get your money back anyways. And just buy from any seller that has that same picture that I have posted on the frequently asked questions. But yeah, it'll go out of stock every week. That's just how it is. Why do M cars come with drilled rotors? Because it looks cool, probably. An exhaust shop told me I can't do a dual exhaust conversion of my 328 because of the EVOT box or whatever it's called is in the way. Yeah, that is in the way for doing like a true dual exhaust, but you can what's the word? You can do kind of like a fake dual exhaust where it's a single exhaust, and then you have another pipe running just along the bumper to go out of that second bumper exit. Evans, Stage FP are saying to sort piston ring gap and crank hub over 375 horsepower. Given you are reliably running more than that, I'm wondering where they are getting their numbers from. Yeah, that's always a possibility of having issues, above that power level. I think 22 RPD also recommends around there to do that as well. I think you actually might be quoting. Are you quoting 22 RPD maybe on that? Let me check our product page because I think we say something like that. But yeah, I have a pinned crank here sitting on my laundry machine that I need to put into. Oh, I guess we don't say that on ours, but I could have sworn that we did at some point. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth pinning the crank hub after that power level just to be safe. Because yeah, I have seen people spin them. It's more, there's a couple of tricks to not spinning your crank hub. First of all, it's more common on auto transmissions, especially DCT. The rapid shifts can cause it to spin with the torque being applied so quickly and aggressively. And one of the biggest causes of it on auto cars is using the kickdown on your gas pedal. And so what I always recommend is to flash XHP and turn off kickdown. But if you have the GM transmission, Berger Motorsports sells a little I don't know what they call it. It's like a little stub that you put under your gas pedal, and it'll make it so it can't go all the way down to actuate the kickdown pedal. And that's a really good idea to do when you're supercharged to help keep your crank your crank up from spinning. But yeah, if you're shooting for 400 plus wheel horsepower, at the same time, I would get a pin crank hub as well. Piston ring is a good idea as well. Just kind of a pain to pull the engine and do that. And we do have another guy tuned who's making 440 wheel horsepower on stock ring gap with a water-cooled manifold, and he just pinned his crank hub. I wonder how much power you could get out of an N52 2.5 safely. I'm not going to try that on my car. It burns oil just like any other. I'm keeping it a nice OEM plus daily. Yeah, I'm not sure either. We don't have those in the US, so don't have as much experience with those myself. I might be, can't remember, one of the two. LOL. Yeah, I think we had that on. We have that posted somewhere. I'm pretty sure. Past 375, you should do that stuff. I added Ghost Cam, GTS startup, linear throttle mapping, top speed limiter delete, increased rev limit, and burble. Is that good? And what is the swap tune option? Because I want to be able to. Those are cool. Those are good options. Those are fun. The swap tune is not what you're thinking. It's not a to swap tunes back and forth. That's like if you have a 90s BMW and you swap an N52 into it, you need to delete a lot of stuff to make it work as a standalone. And that's what the option of swap tune is. If you want to have a second map, like a burble and non-burble, that's going to be the extra map option. You definitely don't need the swap tune. Flash a different tune, switch from burble to performance. So will I still be able to do that if I don't get that swap tune option? Yes, I answered that just now. Also, can I control how aggressive the pops are? Yeah, just tell the guys, add to the notes in the bottom how aggressive you want those burbles to be, and also add your exhaust setup. You can't control like on the fly, like turn them up and down, but we can set it to, soft, medium, aggressive, stuff like that. Apart from the Ultimate Bimmer Experience channel, what's your favorite channel and what is the best for N52 content? I don't really watch YouTube videos for like car stuff. I really just watch like kind of like documentaries and like comedy or podcasts and stuff like that. Yeah, I can't really think of anyone else I watch. Craig's a friend of mine, Ultimate Bimmer Experience. His videos are hilarious. I like his channel a lot. But other than that, yeah, I don't think there's anyone else I watch for N52 stuff. You ever thought about using the DCT in your 330? No, not really. If I was going to spend that kind of money, I'd do the 8 HP. Just traded my stock turbo N54 for a bag 6-speed E93 3i. Nice. With cash on top. Been watching a hella videos trying to get up to standards, but they seem to have the common failures N54s have. I would say they don't have all the common failures. Like there's no high pressure fuel pump, no injector issue. The water pumps don't go out every year. What else is there on N54? There's no turbos. There's no wastegate rattle. The only things on the N52 is just you do your oil change, spark plugs, coil packs, fix vacuum leaks, fix any oil leaks, valve cover gasket, oil filter housing gasket, accessory belts, get a crank seal guard. Yeah, you definitely much more reliable and less issues versus N54. What are you drinking? I'm drinking this Snapple Apple here. Has Mills modified it? Does it improve performance or not? I get this question a lot, and I really don't know because I do have them on my car, and BPC dyno tested them as gaining 10 horsepower, but a couple shops this year have posted them taking measurements on an engine with them installed and say it doesn't increase lift. So I'm not sure one way or the other. Since I'm not a engineer, I can't really verify either of those claims. But that being said, I would spend the money on headers first, since they're 100% proven in gains. Have you ever come across a N52 VAC Motorsport built engine? Yeah, one of my friends on the East Coast, he had a nitrous 128i, and he did drag racing with it, and he ran a 200 shot of nitrous with the VAC stroker kit in his N52, and that's the only one I've ever seen. Yeah, I can't think of anyone else that has that, and I'm not sure if they sell those anymore. Bro, your lives are now in the same group as favorite pods. Oh, nice. Awesome. Are you drinking whiskey? You look like Salamundo, with all due respect. Ha ha ha. Who is? I think someone else told me that too. I gotta Google this guy. Salamundo. Is that Salamandrin? He does have a beard. I can see it a little bit. That's funny. Oil leaks and coils and water pump are really only problems with N52s and N54s have in common. Yeah, yeah. I replaced the belt, pulley, and tensioner recently. Should I still get the crank seal guard? Yeah, absolutely. Because you never know if your AC pulley is going to fail or you're going to spring a leak and throw the belt. So it's cheap insurance. This may be a dumb question, but how do I determine if my car is N51 or N52, or if it's B25 or B30? I want to let the tuner know my exact details. I'm going to send you a link where you can put your VIN, and once you put your VIN in there, it'll tell you what engine you have. Yeah, you could do that. What's your opinion on N51 reliability? They're good. They're reliable like the N52s. There's a couple more things that can break, like the radiator EAC sensor, which doesn't affect drivability, but you get to check engine light and you fail emissions for that. But on the flip side, you have the emissions warranty. I forget if that's still a thing nowadays, but I'm pretty sure people are still using that for like valve cover gaskets and fuel pump and emissions related stuff, and you get it done for free, so that's pretty cool. But I've had a bunch of N51s too, and they're the same reliability as my N52s. Do silicone intake tubes have any benefit apart from noise? I don't think so. If I want to switch the tune while driving, I have to park and flash the car. So does that mean I have to be driving around with the laptop and OBD2 stuff at all times if I want to do that? Technically, yeah. If you, I think you might be thinking that one tune will be only burble and one will be performance. If you do the two tunes, they'll both be performance tunes. One will just have burble and one won't. So you're not losing any performance on the burble tune. It's just making more noise. So you really shouldn't need to be switching the tunes that often. I would imagine you'll run the burble tune, you'll get tired of it, and then you're at home, you change the flash to not burble, and you switch back and forth. But yeah, both tunes are the same performance. They all have the same adjustments aside from the burble. Yep, got the radiator replacement under seal of warranty. The seal of warranty. Yeah, it's expensive radiator too for that sensor. Does 3-stage intake, turn air, cold air intake, 22 RPD tune equal stock N54 power? Let's see what an N54 makes to the wheel stock, and I'll tell you. Okay, first result says that the N54 puts out 273 wheel horsepower on a dyno jet and 250 wheel horsepower on a Mustang dyno. So with the 3-stage intake manifold, you'll be making like 255, 260, something like that. So you'll be making a bit less. If you went to a N54 intake manifold, you could match that on a rear-wheel drive manual car, because we did 275 wheel horsepower on a N54 intake manifold N52. I'm also having problems with the ABS and DCT module, but with a couple of taps, it comes back to life. That's a new one. Interesting. Yeah, I would probably replace that so you don't lose your anti-lock brakes. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. Also, by chance, is there like a good gas mileage map, LMAO? Technically, you should have better gas mileage when you're tuned, since the tune is making the engine run more efficiently to make more power. So technically, you should have a little bit more gas mileage. But an important side note is once you have your burbles and you're making more power, you're going to be pushing that gas pedal all the damn time trying to make it burble and pop. So you're going to have worse gas mileage driving like that. So definitely keep that in mind, because I know everyone that gets their first burble tune, they go pop, 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 pop every 5 minutes because it's so freaking fun when you first get it. So, got any 22 RPD promo codes? Not right now. Our only sale we had this year was for Black Friday, but we don't have any plans, as far as I know, for this year for sales. Just drive with lower RPMs is your best bet for gas mileage. Yeah, he's not going to do that. There's no chance he's going to do that with a new burble tune. 3-liter blocks aren't known for being economical, LL. Yeah, absolutely not. A 6-cylinder 3-liter is not the best gas mileage, just from a engineering standpoint. I'm thinking about getting the X3 on the dyno before I do all the mods. Yeah, you might as well. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen an X3 on a dyno, so that'd be cool. I got the GM Auto Trans. I don't know if I should get the 3-stage or the N54. For you, Chris, knowing your setup, I would get the 3-stage intake manifold. LMAO. Yep. Yeah. That's exactly what you're gonna do, man. I was in the same shoes. We've all been there. Evens, three-stage intake, you won't be able to take advantage of higher RPMs. Yeah, exactly. Also in the same boat with GM trans. But evens, you're getting the supercharger, so you won't care about those extra RPMs. You'll make plenty of boost up to 7,000. Raymond N52 promo. Nice. Haha, you know who I am off of how I type LMFAO, you smart mofo. Yeah. I know who you were on the first live stream. Yeah. I can definitely recognize your how you type. And I think you said you had those same breaks to me before as well. And then in Discord. I'm having water pump codes. Is it because it is working with a little oil in the water, or is my pump already dead? Let's Google the codes. Okay, you've got electric coolant pump shutdown. The first result says your water pump is dead and needs to be replaced. So yeah, probably. Let's see, what's the other code you got? 2E83. Yeah, so the water pump codes, in my experience, the first thing to check is there's a little ground that has an aluminum bolt going through it for the water pump harness. Find that it has like a T10 or a T12 Torx bolt through it. Clean that off. Make sure that bolt's not broken, and because that ground being loose or broken causes a ton of issues. So clean that up. Make sure the ground is clean and the bolt is on there good. After that, another issue that can cause the water pump codes is a low battery. So make sure your battery voltage is good and your alternator is putting out good voltage. After that, it's time to just go ahead and replace the water pump and the thermostat since it's right there. So yeah, probably water pump time for you if it's not those other two things. Oh, and you said you have a little oil in the water. Yeah, do your if you have a little oil in the water, I doubt it's going to throw those codes. But definitely replace your oil filter housing gasket with a genuine BMW one too while you're at it, and then flush your coolant out and replace it with 50/50 genuine BMW coolant. And I like the genuine BMW coolant since it's from BMW, and also it's undiluted, so it actually comes out cheaper than like the Prestone or whatever else you get at an auto parts store, since that's already pre-diluted. Per gallon comes out cheaper on the genuine. Why would you want the increased RPM option on 22 RPD tune? Good question. Usually people that go with the N54 intake manifold, you want to bump up the red line since it makes more power at higher RPMs. And then also on the three-stage intake, a lot of people go with like 7,200 RPMs just so that they have a little more leeway. If they're racing or they're on the track, they have a little more room to shift before hitting the red line. Say you're in a corner and you want to make it through that corner in a certain gear and not have to shift mid-corner. Having a little more space before your red line can help you out with that. I aspire someday to have a build like yours. That's the dream. The best advice I can give on that is just to learn to work on your own car, because that's the best way you can do the most stuff to your car while still not spending crazy money. Like I couldn't afford myself to pay to have someone do all my mods for me. There's no way. So by learning to work on your car on your own and just having to pay for parts, you can do so many things for much cheaper than paying labor. How do I know whether or not my car is clean enough to start going to meets? I think you should go to meets regardless, and make friends and talk to people about their builds, because it's not really, not to get like philosophical or anything, but it's not really about the destination and having the perfect car. It's more of the journey of getting there and building it. And if you make friends at car meets, you know, everyone's always, no one's build is done. Everyone's build is in progress. And so by making friends at car meets and stuff like that that are also working on their builds, it's kind of nice because you guys are all working on your cars together and all progressing together on your builds. And you can, hey, can I don't know if you have a garage, but if you make a friend with a garage, hey, you want to hang out? I'll bring you beer if I can work on my car in your garage, or, you know, vice versa and stuff like that. So I really wouldn't wait until your car is like clean enough to go to a meet. Just go there and do what you can on your car, and, you know, make friends with the same passion that you have. Here's the yapper, Raymond. Yeah, that's me, yapping it up. Vokey. Are the N52s better than N55 and N54? It depends on what metric you're going by. Reliability wise, yes. How often do you change your oil? I change mine every 5 to 6K, and I drive pretty conservatively. I do mine every 4K, and I'm always beating on my car. I think 5K is a safe interval. I guess I have an N51. I didn't even know that. I always thought it was N52. What even are the differences? The N51 is the Sulev version. Just has more emissions components, and it has a little bit lower compression. So you make a little less power, but you also come with the 3-stage intake stock. So you make more power with just the tune than an N52 would, because they down tune it a lot more from the factory. Regarding the change of oil cooler gaskets, is it advisable to add a little Loctite gasket former or not? No, never add RTV or Loctite on those gaskets. Vokey, yeah, that's exactly it. Lower compression, 3-stage intake. Context. So in other words, investing in tools is really a good idea. Yeah, absolutely. And you don't need Snap-on or anything expensive, really. Like, I've parted out like 50 plus cars, E90s, just using Harbor Freight tools. So, and I've all the work I've done on my own car has been Harbor Freight tools. So you don't need to spend thousands of dollars. I'm probably like, I have a couple hundred in tools, with the most expensive just being like specialty BMW tools that Harbor Freight doesn't have. They come with a 3-stage intake stock. I'm so confused. Yeah, the N51s all come with the 3-stage intake manifold. Cole said only in the 330, 325, and 328 don't have the 3-stage. You're correct for the N52 engines, but the 328s that have the N51 do have the 3-stage intake manifold. Yeah, Skull, you already have the 3-stage intake manifold. You don't need to buy one. You'll already see the benefits from just the tune. You don't need to buy a manifold since you already have it. The only other thing you could really do performance-wise, that's a good bang for the buck, is catless headers. Do I think the N52 is more reliable than the B48 and B58? Yeah, it's more reliable than the B58 for sure. The B48 I don't have really any experience with, but I know it is a good, reliable platform. However, it does have a turbo, so you're adding another component to the system that can fail. And also, both of them have newer technology and more engineering, more electrical components that can fail. So overall, I think the B48, B58 are reliable for a turbo BMW engine, but it still can't compare to an N52. What are my thoughts on the B48 and B58? Yeah, I kind of covered that there. B58, I think, is an awesome platform. The owner of 22 RPD has a B58 that makes 800 wheel horsepower or so, and it's freaking insane. I think it's an incredible platform for making big power. Yeah, I want to get catless headers. Check out this link, Skull. This might answer some other questions you might think of as well later on. And I have a example photo of these cheap headers you can get that fit good. They're always out of stock, so you just got to keep checking on AliExpress. N52 eats gaskets, that's it. Yeah, I mean, if you get genuine BMW gaskets, you only have to do them usually like 100 every 100,000 miles or so. But yeah, I mean, compared to like a Toyota or something, it's more frequent. Is there any way to activate or deactivate the exhaust piston on the 330i to make it louder or quieter through coding, like a cutout system? You would probably have to wire in like a vacuum pump with an actuator into the stock system, because the stock system is operated off vacuum from your brake booster line. So if you can create vacuum, I forget if it's activated when there's vacuum, when there's no vacuum, but if you can replicate that and control it with a switch, then yeah, you could, but not through tuning. It's not possible. How much do you hate the steering feel on post E9X BMWs? A lot. I definitely prefer hydraulic steering. B48s here in Europe have had engine failures after tunes, especially in the 330e hybrids. Oh, wow. Yeah, I haven't heard of that in the US models, so I wonder what the difference is there, or if there's a difference on the hybrids versus the just engine ones, or just the gas-powered ones, I should say. What's a good budget suspension setup for E90s sub $1,000? Usually when people ask me the cheapest, I say BC, but I think those are like $1,200. Sub 1,000, maybe KWST. I think those might be around 1,000, but they're not rust proof. So if you live in like an area that gets a lot of rust on cars, you might not want to run those, or you might want to clear coat them or something. Should I get those AliExpress headers, or would Active AutoWork catless headers be better? They're nearly identical to the Active AutoWork headers for $300, so they're kind of hard to beat. Most people just go with the AliExpress headers. Might be bad tuning too. Yeah, bad tunes can definitely blow up motors. Do you think E46 or E9X was the last good BMW era? Some people think it was the E46. I think the F80s are incredible. I've driven the F80 M3, and I think that would be the last BMW that I would want as of right now. I think they did an incredible job with the suspension and putting a DCT in there. The engine is incredible, and there's like a ton of bracing all over the chassis. So I think that those are fantastic as well. What's up with the steering? I'm new to Beamers and I've driven other cars, but this Beamer steering wheel feels way more tough and harder to move turn. Yeah, that's pretty normal. You could change your power steering fluid as well. Just look up a DIY on how to do that. But that won't make a huge difference. But yeah, it's pretty standard for E90. Pre-2020 BMW is looking better and better every year. Yeah, I mean, anything before those bucktooth grills, right? N52 is bad or bad owners? I've actually had a pretty great experience with the N52 itself and N52 owners. Definitely happy to be a part of the N52 community. Most people I've interacted with that have an N52 are polite and friendly and good people. So yeah, I couldn't really say the N52 is bad or the owners. I think a lot of people get into N52s as kind of like their first few cars, and they're not really familiar with working on cars yet. So that can cause issues with like not doing maintenance or not knowing how some stuff works. But yeah, that really just comes down to kind of learning what you need to learn to take care of the car. So in that aspect, yeah, that could be a little skill issue with taking care of your car. But yeah, no, I think it's a great platform. S55 is actually good. Would suggest you get the crank hub upgraded though. Yeah, especially on the DCT, and turning off the kickdown is big as well. Bad owner since it's a common engine. Yeah, it's definitely a widely available engine and affordable chassis to get into. So there's more, I guess there could be more likelihood that there would be bad owners just since there's so many people that can get into the platform. What about M5 F10? My grandpa had one and he loved it. They're cool. We've got one at 22 RPD right now. It sounds insane. It's like fully straight piped. It shakes like the whole street when you start it up. I think they're sick. It definitely feels like a boat though. Big cars, very big cars. Bad owners maintenance is key. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's just like the E46. Once the E46 became affordable, more people were buying it that aren't really that don't have much experience on cars, and it's an affordable option. Don't really realize that BMWs do need more maintenance than their Honda Civic or whatever they had beforehand, and so something will break after not doing maintenance besides oil changes for 100,000 miles, and then the engine gets blamed. So yeah, I could agree with that. Why doesn't BMW not offer hydraulic steering as an option? I would just imagine for packaging and like emissions and stuff like that. Do you know the explanation why the steering wheel is that tough to move turn? I know it's common for Beamers to being like that. I'm just wondering why. I think it's kind of just a design, a function of engineering from BMW. It's just really how much assistance the power steering pump gives you. I think they're more designed to have you feel a little more connected with the steering in the road versus like a Prius or something where there's no connection whatsoever to the road. It's very numb. It's supposed to be sporty. It's supposed to feel sporty, which is, people kind of associate heavy steering with a sports car. And another factor of steering stiffness is caster in the suspension, and adding more caster to a suspension helps handling and helps the steering wheel self-center itself. And obviously the E92 chassis is designed as a sporty chassis, and they do have more caster, I'd imagine, than regular commuter cars. So that can also contribute to a stiffer steering feel. Like when I had ground control camber plates on my 330i, I maxed out the caster and the steering was a lot stiffer, but it improved the handling. Yeah, I could go deep and be boring with that subject, but I won't. Miguel, what's up, dude? Raymond, how you doing? Tomorrow I'm gonna look at a 330i with 100 kilometers. Do you think $5,000 is a good price? If it's in good condition, yeah. 100K kilometers. Let's see what that is in miles. What the heck is a kilometer? 60,000 miles. Yeah, I think that's a great price if it runs good. Long oil changes are the worst for N52s, and that's what most people who don't care about cars do. True. First time watching the stream. Love seeing you help everyone. I'm an N52 owner myself. Absolutely love the platform. Thanks for coming in and watching the stream. I also big fan of this platform. Hello, that's so true about big cars. Yeah. Has anyone here had rough idle upon start with fluctuating RPM with no codes or ticking? I would do a smoke test, check for a vacuum leak, and then maybe Vano solenoids. But check your plug in a BMW scan tool like Pro Tool and do a code read, because sometimes you can have stored codes that don't pop a check engine light. Marjav, you put a supercharger, but my big modification is can and air filter and intake boot removal. I gain 100 horsepower. Yeah, you'll probably beat me. I don't have the intake boot mod, so yeah, you probably got me beat there. Skull, well, I think I've asked enough questions. Probably getting annoying now, but thank you a lot for your help. Best of luck. I'm heading out now. No, not annoying. That's why I'm here. I don't mind helping people. That's why I'm doing the live streams. Try to help as many people as I can. Thanks for coming in, and yeah, enjoy that 22 RPD tune. You'll definitely be happy with it. Yeah. Jess, my N52 sometimes has rough idle after driving for a while. P0012 is the code. First thing I would do is, like I usually say, hook up a BMW scan tool that doesn't give you a generic code, but that generic code is like a cam timing code or something. So that could be Vano solenoid, or it could be your Vano sprocket bolts. So hook up a BMW scan tool and see what the BMW definition is for it. Isn't ISTA the only thing that BMW should be scanned with? Usually people use, if you want a free scan tool, you can use INPA. ISTA is even better. It gives you suggestions on what to check and troubleshoot based on each code, but you can also use like Pro Tool or something like that. I figured it could be Vanos, but I hadn't considered the sprocket. Will do, thanks. Put your VIN on BMW's website and check for recalls, because there is on a lot of models of Vanos sprocket bolt recall. If you guys are enjoying this live stream and you want to be able to ask me questions at all hours when I'm awake and get a quick response, like I'm giving a quick response here, this is a membership for my YouTube channel. It's $10 a month, and it gets you access to my private Discord. And there you can ask me any question you want, and I get back to you guys first. With my main priority, just since a lot of messages get buried on Instagram and stuff like that, since I do get a ton of questions. I still answer everyone's questions everywhere else. I just might miss it, or it might take me a bit to get back to you. But yeah, anyone that joins there, totally appreciate that, and that money goes into further N52 development and making more videos and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely thanks to all the members that joined the YouTube membership. And I posted that link in the chat here. Let's see, I'll pin it. Yeah. Does that come up for you guys when I pin a message? Does it show it on the chat, or is it just for me? Let me know. I see it. Okay, cool. Sweet. So I'll just leave that up there. But yeah, that if anyone wants to get into the Discord, that's the link there. Let's see what else we got. There's a nice cold air intake for N52 from AFE, but just remember it's a substantial portion of a charger kit. Yeah. The intakes are kind of expensive for how much power you gain from them. It's really just a sound mod. So yeah, just bear that in mind if you're buying upgraded intakes. Besides the manifolds do produce the power. I found this question interesting. What spark plugs do you recommend for N52? I always recommend the NGK laser Iridium. I've tried most of the spark plugs. I've had more issues with the Bosch Platinum. I tried another brand too. I can't think of. But yeah, NGK laser Iridium are the way to go. Matcha, thanks for the stream. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. What do you think is the best M3? The E90 M3 or the F80 M3, in my opinion. Thanks for the Q&A. See you next time. Thanks for stopping in, Jess. Have a good weekend. E92 M3 all the way for me, my dream car. Yeah. I would get an E90 M3 just because I'm a big sedan guy, but the E9X M3. It shows the pinned link. Yeah, it shows at the top and in the chat highlight. Cool. Thanks for confirming that, guys. And anyone that hasn't hit like on the stream, if you can hit like, that helps me because it bumps the videos up from that YouTube algorithm. What else we got? Any questions in general? Maybe not even just N52 questions. Any other questions you guys have that I could maybe answer? They're expensive. That's why you might as well go custom. Are you talking about the intake? Yeah. Raymond, thank you very much for your time. I try to understand you as best as I could since you speak very fast. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I do speak. My thoughts go faster than my voice, so I speak really quickly. I'll try to slow that down though in the future. I don't understand much English. Well, I feel like we communicated just fine based on your messages. So it sounds like you're pretty good at English to me. Couldn't hit it enough. Oh, the like button. Thank you. I live in New England, so I was wondering how often I should be doing tire rotations too. I'm probably due for one. It's been like 4,500 miles for me. Still learning how often I should. That's a good point. I'm actually way overdue too. So thanks for reminding me. I'm not sure what the general recommendation for tire rotation is, but it's not like, I feel like you probably couldn't do that too often. So if you wanted to rotate them now, I don't see how that would be any issue. I think that would probably only be beneficial for you to even out the tire wear. Would I purchase the E60 530i or the V10 M5 version? Personally, I wouldn't buy either myself, but if I had to pick one, it would be the V10. How much horsepower can you make out of an N52 keeping it NA? Probably about 280 to the wheels, I would say. We did 275 at 22 RPD on a rear-wheel drive manual N52 with N54 intake manifold and headers and 2 3/4 inch exhaust, and he did 275 at the wheels. So I'd imagine on velocity stacks on that same setup, we would probably see 280 plus. Staggered or squared for rear-wheel drive, brah? It depends on how you want the car to drive. If you want it to be lean more towards oversteer than a squared setup. If you want it to be more understeer biased, then you would go for a staggered setup. If you just care about looks, then probably a staggered setup. Generally, a squared setup is more neutral for handling. But I do know guys who race their E90s, E92s, and some do staggered and some do squared. So it depends on personal preference. The N52 that the 130i has is 265 horsepower, and the 330i 258. I understand that due to emissions issues, they reduced the power in the 330i. The question is, what modification does the 130i have to those? The 135 only came in Europe, and they don't have secondary cats, and that's usually good for like 8-wheel horsepower. So that alone could be the difference, but it also could be as simple as just a bit of a change in the tune. Yeah, it's a very small difference. Between a Eurospec OEM airbox or a Turner Motorsport intake, which would have the biggest horsepower increase after a tune? The Turner Motorsport would. The intakes don't make a huge difference. I think at best over stock you add like 10 wheel horsepower or something like that. So keep that in mind if you're spending the money on it. Headers would make more of a horsepower increase if that's what you're chasing for the same price. Even so, recirculating valve for my charger, I want to get one where it's recirculating below like 3K, but over that, if I want nice noises, it vents to atmosphere. Any recommendations? I should be able to recommend you something. But are you running methanol injection or water injection or anything like that? Can I switch out the diff on the X3? How much would that affect the X-Drive system? You should already have the 410 diff, which is the most aggressive one, so I wouldn't worry about that. Evens, it's going to be the Stage FP intercooler when I can get my hands in it. Okay, so if you aren't running meth injection, you're fine to vent the blow-off valve to the engine bay. The blow-off valve, that would probably be what you're looking for, but I'm not 100%. It's Turbo Smart makes it, and it's a 2-port. One port recirculates, and one port is vent to atmosphere. I'm trying to find it. I'm not sure how you could make it RPM controlled to where it recirculates under 3 and vents to atmosphere, but this is the one I'm thinking of. And I can help you set up the blow-off valve to work on the N52 as well, because you do need to do a couple special things since the N52 doesn't produce much vacuum. So you got to use like a controller and stuff like that. But I can help you with that on the Discord too whenever you got that in and you need help. Do you recommend pedal box for the N52 or JB4 or none of that? LOL. I wouldn't recommend any piggyback pedal controller for the N52 simply because for like $100 extra, you can get the 22 RPD tune, and we can change the throttle mapping the same way through the DME flash instead of a piggyback. Plus, you actually gain power, not just a more aggressive pedal map. So yeah, I used to have the Burger power box, which they don't make anymore, and basically all it does is make the pedal really twitchy. So I definitely would recommend getting a 22 RPD tune with a good throttle map on it, and then you'll actually make more power at the same time. It's a lot better value for your dollar. It's more to keep it social around town, live in a town with tons of old people. Yeah, you really got to be ripping on it to get the blow-off valve to set off. So unless you're like speeding through town, I wouldn't worry too much about it, because even with my fully vent to atmosphere one, it's really only if I'm doing a serious pull and I get to higher RPMs and I let off. Like if you're just trying to drive normally, it's not like a turbo car where it's like you're just cruising and it's going psh, just from like 3,000 RPM or whatever. Are you guys getting ads during this live stream, by the way? Do ads pop up for you, or is it just live stream the whole time? Because I set it to minimal ads, but I don't know if that actually does anything or not. None for me, but I'm YouTube Premium. Yes, I've had an occasional ad. Okay, is it like a reasonable amount, or is it annoying how much ads there are? That's bang on what I'm looking for. Thanks. Yeah, the only thing with the vent to atmosphere one, if you use the supercharger spring, it does have kind of like a constant whoosh. If it's venting to atmosphere and you're higher RPM, low load, like say 3,500 RPM, but you're barely on the gas, the engine's creating a little bit of vacuum, and so you kind of hear like a shh a little bit. But if you keep your RPMs low, you can be quiet around town. Yes, there was like 5 ads. Okay, so I guess that's That's pretty good for 2.5 hours. That's not too crazy. Every minute and a half? No, is it really? Every minute and a half there's an ad? Hopefully you're joking. Music to ears that sounds like haha. Let me see if I could find a video of mine doing it. I've got so many pictures and videos on my camera, though I might not be able to find it quickly. We'll see. I think I found the video. Oh, here we go. So I'll put this evens. I'll put this kind of by the AirPod and try to hold it up to you so you can hear it. But it's like this. The ticking is just from my photo app. That's not from the car. But yeah, it's kind of just a whoosh. But it's not like a like the old racer blow off valves where it'll squeal real loud. Yeah, it does sound pretty cool. I don't think it's overly obnoxious or anything. Is it okay for the electric fan to turn on at 229F and lower the temperature to 221? I understand that the water pump has 4 operating modes controlled by the DME. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's in range. Anyone have any general questions for me, N52 related or not? I'm probably gonna start wrapping up the stream here soon. Get some lunch. With the GM transmission, how risky is it to do pulls on the transmission? Doing one every other day shouldn't hurt when you reach past 120K. I wouldn't worry about it. Change your fluid, and yeah, I wouldn't even worry about it, especially 120K miles. That's really not much. Is it possible for an N52 rev higher than an S54? That's a really good question. In stock form, it's safer to rev an S54 higher over an N52, but if you built the N52 head with like valve springs and stuff like that, I don't see why you couldn't rev it that high, but it would put more strains on the rods versus the S54, just based on the bore and stroke. But if you de-stroke the N52, like 4N Motorsports did on the N55, and you can rev it out to the moon probably. Excuse my somewhat silly questions, but here in Argentina, there are many liars who will lie to you to get you a few bucks. I didn't think any of your questions were silly. But yeah, it's unfortunate that there's scammers there. I think that's everywhere though. There's always going to be someone that tries to take advantage. Let's look up the N52 thermostat map. I'll make sure on that. Oh, it's in Celsius. Okay. So the economy mode is 233 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 112 C. And the lowest mode, which is high, is 80 degrees Celsius, which is 176 degrees Fahrenheit. So anywhere between that range is fine, which yours is definitely, you said 229 to 221. Yeah, so it seems to be in normal operating range for you. All right, guys, I'm going to go get some lunch. Thank you all for joining me today and participating in the live stream. I appreciate you guys, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Peace.